This is Greg Burt from the California Family Council, and we have a great special guest with us, Leticia Castillo. She is a brand new Republican legislator in the Assembly from the Riverside area, and she is going to be talking about a bill that she introduced on adoption. And so we're excited to bring that interview to you. So glad to be here. We have a special guest with us to talk about a brand new adoption bill that she has introduced. Assemblywoman, thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you start off by, before we talk about your great bill, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and something about your district? Because I know you're a brand new legislator.
Right. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And, to get the word out regarding this bill, that's really important, AB 329. So thank you so much. And so about me and my district, so I'm a dual licensed psychotherapist, and I stepped away from that to run for office because I didn't like what was coming down from Sacramento, and so now here I am. And so my district is made up of all of Jurupa Valley, all of Grand Terrace in Riverside and San Bernardino County, and then portions of Eastvale, Corona, Riverside, and then the unincorporated areas of Home Gardens, which is where I'm from, and El Cerrito and High Grove.
Great. And I was really impressed with your campaign website. Your motto was faith, family, and freedom. And I don't know if you know this, but California Family Council has a very similar motto. It's advancing God's design for life, family, and liberty. And so, very interested. I was just really impressed with that motto. Can you kind of explain why you put that as your motto and why those values are important to you?
Well, faith, because we have to put God first in everything. Family, because next to that comes your family, and that's important. And freedom, we live in America and the United States. So, those three things are super important for this country and for everyone to move forward and live by. Right.
That's great. Well, let's kind of jump in and talk about this bill you introduced, AB 329. It's to promote adoption in our sex ed classes that are required in most junior high and high schools, although parents can't opt out their kids if they want. But this is to promote adoption.
Right.
And so this was the first bill that you introduced. So can you kind of explain why this topic was important to you?
Well, it's important to me, and the reason why I started off with this bill is because, when you're in school, you get your sex ed, and you have all these components in it, right? So they go into detail into most of the components, but there isn't additional resources that are provided in the adoption stuff like it's mentioned. But I feel like there needs to be more information provided for unplanned pregnancies. I'm not saying don't teach the other stuff. Go ahead and teach it if that's what you're going to teach. But let's add a little bit more information on the adoption stuff so that if someone does choose to go in that route, they know exactly where to go and how to find that information. That's just really important.
Right. No, I appreciate that. And I know from your own experience, I'd be curious, from your own clinical experience, doing a lot of counseling with families, can you kind of explain what the situation is, and even in your district and your experience with women who are facing unplanned pregnancies? Is that a real issue, a problem, and how are they facing that?
Well, I can tell you from even when I was in high school a long time ago, right? I had friends that got pregnant while we were in high school, and, there was a school back then that allowed the pregnant teens to go to school there, and so in order for them to keep their child. And so out here, I think there's not enough information, or people don't even know where to go or how to even access that information for adoption and whatnot. There is information for other resources, but not for the adoption piece of it. So I think
Right.
for me, speaking to people within my district, and a lot of them were like, yeah, that would be a great to have that information available, because when you're in that situation, it's kind of like you don't know where to turn or where to go to, but maybe you can be like, hey, I remember when I was in high school, they talked about this, like sometimes those things come back into your mind when you're in that type of situation. So those things are just really important.
Right. And we really appreciate it, because we've been paying attention to what California's been doing and teaching youth for years. And it seems as the only option they typically offer over and over is abortion. And so, they're supposed to be talking about adoption. I mean, that's actually one of the listed things they're supposed to talk about. But as we did some research, we realized that it's rarely brought up as an option. And so kids are ignorant about the fact that adoption isn't what it used to be.
Right.
And that there's so many parents. There's so many parents out there who can't have kids.
Right.
And they really do want kids but can't have them, and they're looking for a baby, but there's just not enough babies available, and that's really
Right.
tragic.
Right. Yeah. So that's something that, hopefully with this bill, we can move it through and get it approved and get it passed. And that way, those options can be available. Those resources can be provided to, unplanned pregnancy, young women,
Right.
for them to be able to have those resources.
So if somebody wants to help support your bill, what would you encourage them to do?
Well, right now it's still the early stages, but I'm sure eventually I will need people to make calls for us in order
Right.
to be able to push that bill through. Right now, I can't tell you where it's going to land, probably in the education, but right now, we'll keep you posted on what you can do and how you can help us with getting this bill pushed through.
Awesome. Well, be rest assured we'll be here to support you and encourage everyone who's listening, all of our contacts, to call their legislators, make sure they're making sure this bill gets passes. It should be a bipartisan bill, right? I mean, how
Yeah.
can you be against adoption? And so we hope the legislature sees it that way, and this bill flies through right to the governor's desk and he signs it. So thank you so much for
Thank you.
promoting adoption, and we're here for you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm hoping it'll get support. It should be bipartisan. I know there's a lot of members that have adopted. So, I'm really hopeful that, the Lord is going to make sure that this gets passed through.
Great. Thanks so much. God bless.
God bless you.
Hey, it was great having this brand new legislator right off the bat introduce a great pro-life bill on adoption. I know a lot of you are going to want to know how you can support this. So this bill is probably most likely going to be first in the Assembly Education Committee. So pay attention to our website, and we will be letting you know when to start calling your personal legislator, but specifically the members of the Education Committee. So thanks so much for listening, and be prepared to support this fabulous bill.